the CEO of OpenTheBooks.com and a great patriot, Adam Andrzejewski. Adam, welcome to Mark My Words. How are you?
Great to be on the program, Mark. I'm doing well.
Good, good. Thanks for being here. We've got a lot of things to kind of discuss, Adam. But first and foremost, you've been making national headlines over the last week or so because you were canceled over Fauci coverage. Tell us about that.
Well, Dr. Fauci is the number one most highly compensated federal employee. And Mark, you know he's the most visible. So it's incumbent upon all of us to give him oversight. Since January of last year, my organization at OpenTheBooks.com, we filed Freedom of Information Act requests to try to figure out why Dr. Anthony Fauci was the most highly compensated federal employee. I mean, he's the director of a subagency of of Health and Human Services. And so when we found out the answers, we published that at Forbes. And here's what happened. The National Institutes of Health loaded an artillery shell in their big gun and they fired it at the C-suite at Forbes. Forbes quickly folded and my column was canceled.
Unbelievable. The mainstream media, they're all trying to protect King Fauci and his wife. I mean, combined government income, what is that?
So we did really robust oversight. Everyone will remember the Senate hearing when the Honorable U.S. Senator Roger Marshall from Kansas, with Fauci under oath in the well of the Senate during the hearing, asked him about his pay, asked him about his financials, and it was a code red moment for Anthony Fauci. He said that his financials were publicly available, and they weren't. And then on the hot mic, it caught him calling the senator a moron.
That's right.
Well, the senator followed up with a demand letter citing my column at Forbes. During the Senate hearing, he actually cited Forbes, which was my column on his questioning of Fauci. So we were front and center on the biggest national news story of that day with, obviously, America's top doctor in the hot seat. So the demand letter said 24 hours, turn over your unredacted 2019 and 2020. Those are the latest available ethics disclosures, financial disclosures for Anthony Fauci. And sure enough, the National Institutes of Health produced those documents 24 hours later on a Friday at 5 o'clock. Well, I took all night. I went through everything. I quantified it all. I quantified all of it. We did cash compensation analysis. And here's the findings, Mark. The Faucis did very well during 2020. In fact, their household net worth rivals $11 million. They made over $1.7 million on their federal salaries, their royalties, and their investment gains. And many people know, because of our reporting at Forbes, that Fauci out-earned the president. He made in 2021 $456,000. Many people don't know that his wife, Christine Grady, out-earned the vice president of the United States. She made $238,000 in 2021. If you add up their salaries, tack on 30% for the cost of federal benefits, the two Faucis at taxpayer expense every single year clean off $900,000.
Oh my goodness. I mean, here, Adam, when I was a federal employee working for the Secretary of Defense at like $65,000 a year, I mean, I thought I was living large at that time, but $900,000. So, and we're going to talk about numbers in Afghanistan in the next segment. But so, Adam, as a key takeaway, you cannot criticize Fauci.
Right. So, look, National Institutes of Health, they employ 86 public affairs officers. And what do, Mark? I mean, Fauci does all the media. We know that in the first 18 months of the pandemic, he did 400 media events. So what are those PR officers that soak up $15 million at taxpayer cost in cash compensation every year? What are they doing? Well, now we know. Well, six of them, six top executives making up to $200,000 a year. I mean, that rivals the salary of the Secretary of Health and Human Services, a cabinet level position. And these are PR execs. Well, six of them, two directors, two bureau chiefs, two public affairs officers at NIH got on a quote unquote corrections email to myself and Randall Lane. Who's Randall Lane? He's the top officer at Forbes, right? So this was not about corrections. This was about pressure. I changed one word in the piece and did some context edits. It was a difference without a distinction. There was no substantial corrections on the corrections email. This was about pressure. And sure enough, within 24 hours, my editors at Forbes called me and they told me I could no longer publish on Dr. Anthony Fauci. And for the first time in 8 years, I would have to clear every future topic with the editors. Then they went silent and canceled my column 10 days later.
Unbelievable. We're going to continue our conversation with the CEO of OpenTheBooks.com, Adam Andrzejewski. You don't want to miss our conversation about numbers and Afghanistan coming up next. You're listening to Mark My Words. We'll be right back.